Today we're finally taking a look at the Louisiana, the new Tier 10 hybrid battleship. This ship is finally out of early access and I have it fully on my main account, and it's pretty broken, unsurprisingly. So today I've got 3 games to show you, mostly because there's a lot of blowouts when the patches first come out. Patch week, patch weekend, we all know the experience of playing during these days, so I haven't had an opportunity to really farm up a crazy 200-300k damage game where we're crushing everything. But these games going by quickly can also show us how powerful this ship is, since we can just wander over and spot a shimakaze. We don't even need to do damage to ships, and we're already having a massive impact on the battle. I think this is the fundamental issue when it comes to planes being in the game here. This shimakaze was under a ton of pressure from our team. He managed to barely live, get his smoke screen, and disengage. Sure, he made a mistake, but he was able to use the tools at his disposal to barely live. And then we could just wander over and make sure he dies. We don't even have to do the damage. It's just that powerful. And spotting is really strong in this ship. As well as the damage. There was 12k, dropped pretty poorly, might I add. I didn't really line it up properly. I didn't approach from the right angle. That is still 12,000 damage. It's a little bit ridiculous. Even without the damage and the ability to fly these planes around, I think is already just a little bit too much power. Just even if these didn't do damage, all they did was spot, that would be enough. This G-Nan here gets spotted for the first time because of us. What happened was the G-Nan dumped deep water torps through the middle channel there, and I was pretty terrified of that. I was concerned as to maybe there'd be more torps coming my way or not. But no, we just get to go find him, see where he's going, and then we're free to push out from around this island. The big disadvantage of playing a battleship is that you don't provide vision. You don't have any ability to spot for yourself. Not really, without pushing in pretty risky situations, right? You're either pushing into a destroyer, you're probably going to get torped. Cruisers are probably going to farm you from over islands if you push in too aggressively, that kind of thing. And so you have to play at the back. But here, we just get to go spot things. This G-Nan is getting low, and I wanted to go over and make sure he died. Well, he dies anyway before we're able to get there, but we would have been able to secure that kill even if that guy had managed to go dark and not be detected. It's just so ridiculously powerful when it comes to spotting, and that's even before we get into the insane power of these dive bombers. Compared to Kearsarge, for example, the other hybrid at high tier, these bombers are way more powerful than the rocket planes. They're so much easier to deal with destroyers, and they do far more damage to battleships and cruisers. It's a little ridiculous what these things are capable of. I just think it's a little bit much for tier 10. And yes, there are some downsides. We only have 10 406s, so Montana guns minus 2 of them, right? Well, that's still reasonably powerful, more than enough to crush a lot of broadsides here, especially with the extra vision we're given with these planes. We can somehow find a lot of squishy targets over islands, behind islands that maybe are turning out when they've happened to be undetected, and we can go detect them, spot them with these bombs, and then potentially dev strike them anyway. We are definitely a little squishy though. That Shikishima definitely clapped us there. But we have a decent heal, and surprisingly, this ship is a little bit hard to kill, I've found. Obviously, if we just sit flat broadside, we are going to die very quickly. We're going to have to accelerate and get behind this island. But I have found, and we'll see this in a later game, I get 4 million potential damage, just as a little spoiler for one of the later games today. In a Louisiana. I haven't had 4 mil potential damage in a battleship in a little while. So the fact that we have it in a ship like this with a gigantic tumor of a superstructure is just wild to me. And I really think that comes down to the armored flight deck. Sure, it's a big superstructure. Okay, here we go. Before I talk about the big superstructure, here's a great example. We still have Montana guns. That's still going to dev strike things pretty consistently. Like I've been saying. This flight deck, though, it's armored. It's not necessarily quite as armored as CV flight decks, but it's enough that we're going to be shattering quite a bit of HE. It's definitely going to be bouncing a lot of armor piercing. So even though it is a big weakness, especially at close range, at longer ranges, it's very difficult to kill a Louisiana. Suddenly, all this plunging fire is just going to be shattering or bouncing, much like an angled carrier. And then you don't even have the downside a lot of carriers have, that is a very overmatchable stern and upper belt kind of thing. we're still a battleship at the end of the day. So we do manage to live through that situation, collect our dev strike, and because we lived and we're so close, we just have basically no flight time over to strike this Shikishima. And this is the other really, really powerful thing about Louisiana. You can play relatively close up to islands and very, very advanced positions, and then this flight time is reduced so much that your strikes come in so quickly that you can just farm damage very, very fast. Of course, we have to wait for the cooldown on our bombs, and that's fine. Here, I'm just concerned about the gearing YOLOing me, so we have HE loaded and we're kind of waiting for him. But we can play very forward positions that carriers otherwise wouldn't be able to do. They have to play farther back since they have really no defense once they get caught by someone at closer ranges, right? So they can't really push up to islands like this. They would have to be hiding farther back. Whereas in Louisiana, we still are just a battleship at the end of the day. So you really want to come around the corner on one of these things, potentially able to dev strike you, and certainly is tanky enough to take a few hits and probably hit you back harder than you are able to deal with it. And you do have to push it, otherwise there's constant planes coming in to not only spot you, but do fire damage, 10, 15,000 damage salvos every minute and a half or so. It's a little extreme. It's a little extreme. In this game, of course, we did manage to stall out the enemy team as they're trying to push around this corner. Gearing comes out, tries to get his torps off, but we can just reverse. And we definitely helped lock down this side for our team. And you're going to see that a lot when I'm playing this ship. I'm trying to get into those very forward positions, because that's where battleship guns are going to be more effective. Montana guns are okay at long range, but really mid to close range is where they're at their most effective, since it's easier to line up targets and collect some citadels. Of course, the major weakness to playing like this so aggressively and using islands to keep you alive so close to the enemy team is if there's an enemy carrier, well, you're just a free target. So even though the AA is decent here, you don't want to be pushing up that aggressively and using islands in carrier games. If you see them, probably try to play a little bit further back, try and play with your teammates a little bit more. That's at least been my experience with this ship. But it's crazy. I think it's just insane that we're able to fire with this much offensive firepower with our main guns, and then just be able to launch these planes that spot everything for our team and are also able to do really, really good damage. Of course, the pen on these is actually 41 or 42 millimeters? Maybe it's 40 millimeters. Regardless, more than enough to deal a ton of damage to this Ohio. And we hit the stern there that is unsaturated. We can see that there. Any dark portion of a ship is a saturated portion. You're going to do a little bit less damage to that. But if it looks pristine, you're going to do maximum damage. And there we definitely do. It's really, really powerful, guys. I don't know what else to say. I think it's a bad thing for the game, not necessarily because of the damage output. A lot of battleships are capable of doing damage, cruisers, destroyers as well. I think it's the spotting, and that's really the fundamental issue with airplanes as well. Carriers, it's the extra spotting they provide. It really just changes the game, and in my opinion, makes it a lot worse. And so 204k, pretty decent start here. The battle impact is pretty monstrous. So game number 2, we're pushing in probably too aggressively again, but this time we're going to go after some DDs, and it's just insane what this ship is capable of against destroyers, in my opinion. It's crazy, especially when we are so close to the cap zones. We're just always going to be flying over them, spotting DDs for our team to shoot at, and it really doesn't matter what angle you come in at, because these bombs are going to do a ton of damage as well. So we get ourselves into a nice little alcove here, and now we realize that there's got to be a DD near us because the Tromp was sending his strikes at us. He's got to be reasonably close, so let's see if we can go find him. It's really, really powerful, and playing it feels great because you're having such massive battle impact, but playing against this is a little ridiculous. You catch a battleship pushing in too aggressively, you light him on fire a couple times, he's forced to hide, and then he can just come find you and drop you with these dive bombers. It's kind of insane. And we're not even dropping a good angle. Look at how poorly I angled that drop in on this guy. And yeah, we did 10,000 damage. Yep. Probably one of the worst angled drops you can take, and we did 10,000 damage to that DD. Damage he would not have otherwise taken. He would not have been spotted. He could have still been stealth torping or even using his airstrikes from stealth. We don't know where he is. Nope, we can go find him, and do massive damage. Next airstrike coming out. Oh, there's a Delarno a little bit close. Maybe he's trying to get away since he's on low HP and trying not to shoot because he's on low HP, trying to get undetected. Okay, we missed there somehow. That was a better lined up drop, but 2 hits only. And yet the spotting and the extra damage makes him so low that next time he's going to be a very, very easy kill for our team. Next strike, now that we're forced out of our little alcove, and we find the Tromp again. Keep in mind, we're the only ones that have done damage to this guy this game. And, well, here comes the next strike. Yeah, all that damage he taken, yeah, if we didn't have planes, or even if planes didn't do damage, he wouldn't have taken all that. Maybe he would have taken some with the spotting. It's just too good against DDs, man. And not only that, you just smash battleships and cruisers as well. So it's not just DDs that this thing counters so insanely. It's just, it's too much. It's too much, in my opinion. I really don't think these are good for the game at all. If that wasn't clear, if I have to spell it out real plainly, I think these are very, very bad for the game. I think that it's only going to serve to make the game more passive and less interesting. People are going to play more in their spawn. They're going to clump up more. They're not going to flank nearly as much. Look at that. The worst possible angle for a drop. We spot him, do 3,500 damage. And the extra spotting that these planes provide, well, we can just shoot our guns at him. Of course, he died before we were able to take our shot. Our daring was there to finish him off. But that's extremely powerful. Any other battleship in that situation isn't going to spot that guy. If you're alone on a flank 1v1 and there's a DD that's just torping you to death, well, this thing can deal with that. No other battleship can, unless it's a hybrid themselves. Minotaur, bow on, we do manage to have massive hits on. That's a bit of an RNG salvo there. I will admit we got pretty lucky into him. But it's still Montana guns at the end of the day, especially if people go broadside, you can expect to do pretty decent damage. This game, we're already up to 3 million potential damage. We still have half our HP left and 2 heals. This is what I'm talking about when I think the ship is just a little bit too tanky. At closer ranges, sure, the ship will be easier to take out because you can target that gap just below the flight deck and above the upper belt. You can target there and do some really massive damage. But at longer ranges, you're probably going to hit the upper belt, you're probably going to hit the flight deck, and you're probably going to bounce or shatter. It's very difficult to take out, surprisingly. Slava coming in, taking some torpedo damage. And even though we do lose some planes here, yeah, we're still just going to crush them for 15k. I just don't think fighting against this is really all that interesting. Of course, this game we got absolutely blown out, right? We weren't able to get a win here, and that's just fine, right? Some games you're going to win, some games you're going to lose. The key here is the battle impact. We're still able to do massive damage, especially against the DDs. That's the real pain point here for me, is that we're doing so much to these destroyers, and it's almost unavoidable damage, since it can just come after you whenever, spot you, and then take you out. There's that 4 million potential damage, by the way. Just got over that 4 million mark in a Louisiana. I haven't even done that in my Montana recently. It's not an easy thing to do, although maybe that game I got a bit lucky with the range or people missing a lot. I'm not sure. Okay, next game. Game number 3. This one, we're going to end up triple capped here very quickly. But we are still going to be able to do some good work this game because of these planes. We don't have a lot of destroyer support here in the middle, and the enemy team obviously does. They're starting to cap. Well, if there's someone in the cap zone, let's go spot them and do a bunch of damage to them. This is a battleship I'm playing. It's crazy. Not only am I going to be able to spot this guy, the plane spotting is going to allow us to get a shot in as well. And that's just extreme. And the angle we're dropping at, again, it's a bad angle. We're not even lining this. Am I even getting the reticle down to its minimum size? No, of course not. But we still hit 3 bombs, 5,000 damage. And we use our spotting there to get another salvo in. Our dispersion didn't look great coming out of the gun, and maybe I underlet as well so we don't hit. But still, that is possible in this game. It's a little bit crazy. I'm going to jump forward a little bit. Not a lot happened other than us losing most of our HP to some flanking destroyers. And we can just go find them. I think there's a DD here that's been pushing between the AB caps. He had been spotting me for quite a while in the past. I did have to deal with a bit of a YOLO in the meantime, so he has relocated at this point. but the ability to go spot that out. Normally a battleship sitting on an island like that becomes pretty helpless to those torps, since there's nothing you can do to spot the guy, and he's just going to constantly send torps in. This ship, though, is just going to go get the guy. It's crazy. It seems like all of the little nuances that I've learned between the three classes, the three surface ship classes, which in my opinion are reasonably well balanced against each other. Some provide more utility in some ways, others provide more damage in others. This ship just gets the utility and spotting and the damage all together? I don't know, man. I don't know. That Shimakaze, by the way, hasn't taken any damage from anyone but us. We're the only ones that have gone in to spot him. Basically, anywhere he's been hasn't been in radar range. There hasn't been our friendly DDs aren't even on this flag. You can see them in the sea cap right now. Oh, and just in case you forgot, and these dev strikes haven't been clear enough, we still have Monty battleship guns. They're still pretty good. They're still pretty good. But this Shimakaze in this one was just... I felt so bad for playing this ship and torturing this poor guy, because he would have been on full health this entire game without me being here. If I would have been in any other battleship, he probably still would have been on full health. Or maybe able to push in a little more aggressively. We do manage to finish off the Annapolis there, which feels pretty good. But yeah, we've taken a lot of damage in this one, mainly from torps earlier on. But still, 2 million potential damage, and the utility that the Louisiana has can be provided from behind an island where we're perfectly safe. We just become that carrier that doesn't have to risk anything and is able to exert so much pressure on the battlefield. Our team is pushing aggressively towards the B cap, and there's a Shimakaze there that would be very difficult to push into. The torpedoes, the extra spotting, and yet we're able to come over and kill this guy. It's just ridiculous. Mecklenburg gets it. We almost got him, but still, the ability there to just deal with the DD threat and then be able to push in after, it's insane. Riga is going to go broadside to us, so sure, we'll take the shot. But even on this low HP, this ship is still a massive threat. That's what I want to get across here in this game specifically. You're still able to control the game and do massive amounts of battle impact, help your team with spotting, contesting areas of the map, helping kill low target priority targets. It's too much. It's too much. I think you guys probably get that. I don't think that this is really going to change anything. These hybrids seem to be here to stay. I just think they're too much for the game, honestly. I really do. But that's not really going to change the fact that they are in the game already, and we're going to have to deal with this. Yeah, 16k and a fire there into that Napoli. And it's not just the damage. I think just the spotting in itself. So hopefully we see some changes to plane spotting. That would certainly help me feel a little better about these hybrids in the game. The damage would still be ridiculous, and the knowledge just that a ship is in a certain area of the map would be crazy. But at least we wouldn't be getting the ability to also shoot at the target based on the plane spotting. That's what I would like to see changed. At least that might happen. These certainly won't be removed at this point, though. But on to the build for this ship. If you're interested, we are running the Statue of Liberty because this ship is just that balanced, right? We are running Gunfeeder here. I'm actually taking some of the AA upgrades, partially because this ship is a priority target for enemy carriers and other hybrid ships. You tend to see a lot of planes coming your way. And also this focus fire training does help us get our aircraft back a little bit quicker, which is really nice considering how powerful they are. I'm taking pretty standard upgrades other than that, though. I don't think this is too much of a surprise to see. Pretty standard build outside of those AA upgrades. And then on the modules here, I am taking accuracy. I still think it's worth it. Even though we don't have that many guns and less DPM even than a Montana. But accuracy is just so nice on these American ships. 11% is quite a bit. Concealment, of course. Air groups mod 3 to, again, get our planes back even quicker. Even taking that over propulsion mod. I would like to have propulsion mod since we do tend to play around islands a lot. But the planes are the planes, man. They're just so powerful, right? I'm taking artillery plotting room mod 1. Trying to get the range up just a little bit here. 26.5. We don't have a spotter plane notice, so having the extra range does mean that every once in a while we're able to lob shells over a few islands and cross map some people, and that's always nice to have, especially with Montana guns, which are relatively good at range. Not always the most consistent, but into cruisers, you can do pretty good damage. Other than that, pretty standard. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, man. Good luck against this thing, I guess. Just good luck if you see one. Right? Like, this is the thing. Like, at range, how are you doing damage to this? Right? Like, even a Montana, which is one of the tankier battleships at tier 10. Yeah, like you got a giant you got a superstructure to hit at least. This thing just has like a armored plate that covers it. Imagine battleships had that ability, right? Oh yeah, I'll just cover all of my weak superstructure with a armored plate. Yeah, wouldn't that be great? That would certainly be a nice buff to the German battleships that are armored everywhere but are so squishy because they have this giant tumor of a superstructure. And yet this Louisiana, which should be eating more damage up here because it's so ridiculous to have a flight deck, yeah, it's just armored. Sure, at closer range. At closer ranges, I'll give it to you. It's pretty big and easy to hit. But even at that angle, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, this video's gone on long enough. I think you get where I'm coming from. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you again for watching the video, and have a great rest of your day.